Hey guys, this is Kevin, co-founder of Dreamed Lifestyle. Basically, I run an online business where I give out teachings and workshops and videos that teaches you basically how to start your own online business. And I'm excited today. The reason why I'm excited is because I have someone with me who is a part of the community as well. His name is James Petersons. And James is basically going to tell us his story and his experience in the online business and how he started. So James, thank you so much, first of all, for coming today. Appreciate that as well. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. Yes, excellent. How about yourself?
Good, good. A little bit tired, but I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right.
Nice.
So James, for people that don't know you, could you maybe explain basically about yourself, who you are, and your kind of like journey, at least the beginning of getting introduced into the online business industry and how you kind of got started.
Yes, no problem. So I joined the community in March of this year, so 2019. I particularly wasn't looking at sort of an online business or looking at, how to set up an online business or anything like that. I was very much into sort of the motivational self-development, personal development type speeches. So I was very much listening to Tony Robbins and Les Brown and Robert Kiyosaki, and really getting kind of more of a kind of inspiration. Really, I had a kind of a good career, really. So for me, from a career perspective, it wasn't like I was a business owner. Had some personal challenges in 2017 from a bereavement standpoint with my dad and my son, so a very short period of time. So I think when you go through some sort of challenges like that, you start to reevaluate your life a little bit, and that's really where I I was happy with the business I was running,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but it didn't give me time freedom. I
Mm-hmm.
was very much sort of, 9 to 6 weekends work. It was very, very hectic. I was working with a lot of clients, mostly in London. So I had the flexibility in the fact that I didn't have to be on site, so I could work from home. So I was probably going in and commuting into London maybe sort of 2 to 3 days a week. So from that side, it was good, but it was long hours, and it was weekend really to work on some of the projects I had. And I wanted, through the challenges, I wanted to travel more really, and wanted to experience new cultures, wanted to sort of wrote a bucket list, wanted to start tick things off. I realized how short life was, and kind of wanted to be able to exploit that, and I knew I couldn't do that doing the career I was doing. So he was on the back of my mind, but I wasn't sort of actively thinking I want to change jobs or anything like that. And then I was, through listening to the personal development and motivational speeches, I obviously came across the workshop series, and with that I kind of got interested, but it was positioned quite differently to me. For myself, it wasn't so much, online business. It was kind of more the community side, which kind of attracted myself, and the mindset. So that was really the kind of the initial sort of thought process behind it. And it's actually, once I got into the workshop series, once I started getting into the community, I went to application and membership. I think I actually went straight to membership. I don't even think I did the application. I just went straight to member. I liked the sound of what it was, and I thought at least I can learn a new skill. And if that was it, really, being around like-minded people, learning some new skills and education. And that's kind of where I started. It was only really once I started to sort of delve a little bit deeper and get more into the modules that actually I started to resonate with a lot of things a lot more. And then with that, I think I'd say probably for me, my interest only grew. I think I was I was kind of interested / skeptical. Class, I'm not really sure what this is about.
Yeah.
First step, I was kind of like, this sounds interesting. Let me go to the membership level and just get behind the scenes, get to understand the modules. And then once I started getting through that, I kind of was like, wow, actually, this makes a lot of sense. And then the journey started.
So interestingly, you mentioned how like you started already in a position when you knew I need to learn a skill because of what it could get me in the financial freedom and the geographic freedom. And then going into the modules, it's almost you had sort of that epiphany moment where you realize, okay, this is resonating with me on other levels. So I'm just curious, what is it about the modules, or at what point were you did that kind of realization come? Was it more your engagements or your commitments? They thought, okay, I'm just going to be committed at this, or was it just kind of the story of how the industry or the possibility of the industry can provide?
I think it was a little bit of. I think it was a little bit of both, really. I think
Yeah.
the. I know. I knew. I really didn't know much. I mean, I was working in a business which was, I was doing a lot of, kind of online-based work, mostly through social networks. I was a kind of I guess, a headhunter, but within
Mm-hmm.
kind of the software engineering product type in
Mm-hmm.
engineering industry. So a lot of it was driven around, actively searching, for people across different platforms, predominantly LinkedIn, but obviously even, sort of, YouTube as well. And so there was a lot of that, so I was in that space, that tech sort of type space, but I didn't, I didn't even think about like affiliate marketing. I didn't even know what it was really.
Yeah,
If I'm
yeah,
to be honest, I had no idea what it meant. And obviously there was videos kept on popping up, and I kept on going skip, 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 because I just thought, no, I'm not interested in that sort of stuff. And it was literally, I resonated with one person within the community whose
yeah. Okay.
message really, really captured me, and it kind of went from there. But yes, for the modules, it was very much kind of, I was really intrigued by the mindset. I think the mindset and that sort of things, which I was kind of on that path already, and that following that kind of spiritual path. So it wasn't so in your face, like a get rich quick scheme, and the way Stuart positioned, I can resonate. And I think I had trust very early. I had trust in my referrer, Valerie, and I had very much trust in Stuart very quickly. Like when he started speaking about the workshop series, I was just like, this guy resonates with me. I
Right.
get what he's saying. I understand completely. So I think I had a very high trust. I wasn't so skeptical. I didn't think it was a scam. I just was kind of like, I believed it. I just realized that it was going to be a lot of, hard work and new skills. And I watched what I was kind of like. I was like, actually, I want to learn some new skills. I want to understand what the digital economy is. What is it? Well, how can you market yourself, and YouTube and Google and Facebook and that? I mean, you're on those platforms as a user, but how
Yeah.
can you actually use that as a, to gain followers, customers, and that? And so for me, it was kind of like, I wasn't really looking at it from a financial perspective, and it didn't, and that wasn't massively pushed at all. I think, I'd seen videos where it was kind of like people with like Ferraris earning, this sort of 50,000 a month, all that sort of stuff. And I never resonated with that, and I never believed it was true. So yes, that sort of thing, I didn't resonate with Stuart. I kind of, obviously I know he's driving the nice cars in the videos and stuff, but I kind of resonated that it was a long process. It was a journey which you had to take.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was very much so the skill, which just sound really, really interesting. I resonated with, well, actually, this is going to be a new skill set, and the digital economy is only growing.
It is.
So it's skills forever. It's
Mm-hmm.
not, sometimes you learn skills and in the
Yeah.
future, it could be redundant or things are going to
Yeah.
replace it. But if you know these skills, they last you a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
thought, I just really thought, actually, I really want to. Obviously, I had a career. I only knew really one career. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know a lot of others. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was kind of like, actually, the marketing and the sales / marketing side, and in the digital economy, was kind of like, actually, this is where everything's going. And if
Right.
you can understand to market on Facebook and YouTube and Google, Instagram, you can get followers, you can make sales, or you can get leads and get traction. You're on the right path.
Right.
And I think my journey was very much around that, but it
Mm-hmm.
was also around, I just believe that I had a story to tell which could probably inspire others. That was really another thing. I think initially I wasn't sure, but then when I got into it, I thought, actually, that you can find, a new life, or you can find peace, you can find happiness, you can find spiritual enlightenment, um, even after bad times. So, but I think for me, it's very much now working around, I'm helping people and teaching people that there is life after, trauma,
That's
ultimately.
right. Interesting. The way I got what you were saying about as well, the initial interest was almost like a sort of a balance between what you realized the skills part that you would have to learn in the learning curve and how valuable these skills will be for the industry in the future. But at the same time, the mindset that is what sort of almost pulled you through into believing and committing. Um, and I'm curious in thinking, how do you kind of see that balance in a way in your journey so far, having to learn, I guess, new skills is what you mentioned about, like, being able to advertise on all the social media platforms and know how to kind of run that business digitally, but at the same time cultivating your mindset into that commitment and the work ethic and the kind of mentality in a way, because that's what you initially were looking into, is motivational videos and whatnot. How do you see that balance? Because I'm personally sometimes struggling with that, because I would get the learning curve and I'm like looking at all the things that I need to learn and understand, like campaigns on Google, on Facebook, and the advertisements and kind of the avatar and the funnels and the emails, like the whole
Yeah.
skills that need to get, that I need to kind of comprehend and know. But then it seems to be that there's a whole other subset of a particular mindset to have in that learning curve. And I find it difficult for me to kind of know how do I balance myself into, having the right mindset to approach those skills, as opposed to thinking only rationally, but then being overwhelmed and being like, oh my gosh, this is too much. So how do you deal with that?
I think definitely easy to get overwhelmed because there's a lot of information,
Right.
and there's a lot to learn. And I think obviously we're part of a community where people are at very different stages of their journey. They could have just started, they could be 6 months in, they could be 12 months, they could be 2 years plus. And obviously people, where you're in usually a career, or if you're setting up your own business, everything's very much in your face, kind of in front of you here. You can see the milestones, and which is a plus, because
Mm-hmm.
obviously you can work and get help off other people who are maybe a little bit further on than you. But then you can compare yourself to others as well. That's a big mindset shift, is where you've just got to trust your own journey. You've got to trust yourself. And if you have a bad day, if you have a bad week, if even a bad month, for example, as long
Yeah.
as you have the mindset in the fact that you're on the right path, you're taking the right steps, you're learning, you're not going to quit, you're all in, you're committed, and you have a strong enough why as well. I think that's key. I think when you do have those tough days, you've got to really look at yourself. So why am I doing this?
That's
And
right.
if it is financial, it's gonna drop quite quickly, because
That's true.
you're gonna expect results
Yeah.
quickly, and just not going to happen. I mean, you can. I know obviously there's people in the community who are very successful, 3, 6 months in, and I think so. So it is, anything is possible, and everyone. All I say to everyone I speak to is everyone's journey is very different. You can't compare. You could put something out there, and I could exactly copy the same thing, and we could have totally different results, because we're different people. We have different stories. We all resonate with different people. So it's totally different, especially if on when you're doing a video ad. So everyone's journey is so different. And what I started to do is just break it down
Mm-hmm.
individually. I just started to say, right, what do I need to learn to start? And I just kind of narrowed it down to, I need to be able to place ads. I need to be able to generate leads, and whether that's Facebook, Google, Bing, YouTube, whatever platform I choose, that's all I need is leads to come through and ads to be placed, and
That's
that
right.
is it. And that's all you need. Like, there's a lot of other stuff which you can get sort of
Mm-hmm.
bogged down by,
Mm-hmm.
but you just don't need to do that right now until you're actually getting leads, until you're getting ads that are working, and you've got a very good video ad or pay-per-click ad.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's it. That's all you need to focus on, and that's really
Absolutely.
what I started to do. And I was reading a lot of books. I read probably like 2 or 3 books on the go at any one time now. One's
Okay.
usually an audio book, which I'll read, or having, from in my car, or just walking my dog.
Which one are you reading right
And
now?
at the moment, I've got David Goggins. Can't
Oh,
hurt me.
interesting.
Yeah,
I
massively.
heard somebody told me that either I was watching a video recently or somebody told me about this book as well. That is like phenomenal. Uh,
Yeah, ex-Navy SEAL, like 60 ultramarathons,
yeah,
just
I
a
know.
super hardcore guy. But it's all around mindset, really. I mean,
Right.
that's what it's all about. Like you can literally do anything, but you have to, program your mind, and that's kind of key. So his book's really, really good, but it's very intense. It's very in your
Is
face, and
it?
so I
Yeah.
think uh, but it's fantastic because it's pushing your body. We all, as we always say, there's that 40% rule that we're only really probably pushing ourselves 40%. We've still got another 60%. You don't actually know what you've got within you, and that could be physically, it could be mentally, or, anything really. And so it's so interesting to understand that.
Hmm.
And then I read probably the biggest life-changing book for me, and I've read it 3 times now, and it just all is like The Miracle Morning, Hal Elrod,
Mm.
and that's
Okay.
just key that it's
Hmm.
just you get up, and it could be, I mean, he talks about getting up at 5 o'clock, 5 or 5:30 or 6. I usually somewhere between that time,
Hmm.
but it always talks around kind of these life savers. So it's usually the first 10 minutes of your day is sort of silence, meditation, whatever you prefer, whatever you choose. And then that's for SS, and A is for affirmations, which you'd say. And then you've got V for visualizations, E for exercise, R for reading, and then S, which he says scribing, but it's more like journaling.
Hmm.
And you can do that, 10 minutes each, and obviously exercise is probably going to be 20. So you kind of, that all incorporates 1 hour,
Hmm.
but you've even broken it down to like a minute on each. For like, if you've got super limited time, just a minute on each. So obviously exercise a minute's tough, but if you just
Yeah,
did star 50, 60, 70, 80 star jumps just to get your kind
exactly.
of your
Your
heart
heart
going
rate.
and
Hmm.
running, that can be enough on really short days. But it's so, if you can, from a mindset perspective, it does change. You
Hmm.
want to be doing that every day, and you're committed to doing it every day before you start anything. It makes a huge change.
Yeah.
And then I read Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad from more of a financial side, and that book's key because you really understand what is a liability and what is an asset,
Exactly.
and you have a completely mind shift. So there are books out there, there's talks out there, you
Hmm.
know, but yes, I think this business I think is predominantly mindset. And if you,
Right.
I think if you speak to anyone, you know, in any sort of, any sort of successful person, it's mindset thing. You're with your own mind 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's always going to be your biggest challenge. And
Hmm.
if you can conquer your mindset and not let it, you know conquer you, you're in control. You can do anything with that. You may have results in 6 months, you may have results in 12 months, you may take you 2 years to get the results, but you will be successful, and you will be able to achieve
Would it
what you
would it be would it be fair for you to say one of the biggest thing that you've taken out, and maybe the biggest advice that you would give to someone, just to wrap up, would be, well, the mindset and the kind of change, the personal change and the growth beyond the financial and the business aspect? Would that be fair to kind of you know, say that that's what you take away? That's your biggest advice for someone
I'd
who's
say so, yeah,
looking
100%
for fitting?
is mindset. If you're committed from a mindset perspective, you know where you're going, you have a big why, you know what you want to achieve, you know where you want to take this business, then you'll be successful. As I say, that may take you, you know 6 months, it may take you 12 months, it may take you 2 years, it may take you longer. But if you're doing the right things, you're operating the right way, you know what you want, then I think it's key. I think all the other skills is, secondary. I know people get quite fearful. Oh, I can't do that, or oh, that sounds too difficult. Yeah,
Hmm.
you have to put, the time in to learn these skills. But
Hmm.
I find in some cases that it does flow a little. What it takes a bit of time. I think I've sort of 6 months. I think I had the right mindset, but things just weren't connecting. I'd look at, campaigns or look at ads, and I think they're right, but ultimately they're not. They're not
Hmm.
really, not good
Hmm.
enough, not
Yeah.
connecting, resonate. And then suddenly things start to click. Once you kind of keep doing it, you keep putting ads out there, you keep, learning, you on the webinars, you're in the community, you're learning from others. You suddenly one day it just starts to click and you get it. You get the keywords, you get your ad, you get the campaign, you get the landing page, you get the congruency, you get, you're speaking authentically from your heart. You're thinking, you have to have a big why you're here and what you want to achieve. For me, it's I want to help others to live a life of freedom and fulfillment, and to break that sort of traditional way of working. And I found that sort of freedom after personal trauma, and kind of that's really where my why is, and it's strong enough. And I believe if I add value to others and help others, then the monetary values is very much a buy of that. And I think you have to have a similar, but you have to have the exact mindset, but it's somewhat similar. You have to have a big why.
Yeah, you need to have
I want 10,000. Yes, everyone wants probably about 5 to 10,000 a month, if not more. But if that's your only reason to do it,
no, it's not going to last long. No, I get that.
It's not going to work, because you're going to be wanting that. You're going to put too much pressure on yourself to get that financial reward too quickly, and it takes time. It does take time.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for all the great advice, man. I can use that for sure. I am definitely going to use that. I'm going to unfortunately have to wrap it up. But again, thank you for taking some time to talk in with me. And yeah, again, I think some of the points that you've given out is something that I'm going to have to use, and a lot of people definitely, I'm sure, benefit from that. So James, I wish you an amazing afternoon. And we keep in touch, all right?
Excellent.
All right.
See you soon. Thanks,
See you
Kevin.
soon.